Hello and welcome back to an exciting episode of On Board with Cruise Passenger, brought to you today by Regent Seven Seas Cruises. I'm Rose Jacobs, your host.
And I'm Peter Lynch, publisher of cruisepassenger.com and Cruise and Travel magazine. Today, we're following the trend towards big trips. Australians are holidaying like never before, and the world's best cruise lines are stepping up to meet that demand.
Yes, and the more exotic and adventurous, the better. Asia, Africa, and the Arctic are all on the list, with literally hundreds of shore excursions and experiences to choose from, many of them super unique.
Oh, yes. They say the greatest luxury is time. And what's clear is these journeys are all about that. We're talking 117 nights.
Woo! That's almost 17 weeks. Who has that kind of time?
Well, Rose, you'd be surprised. Semi-retired and retirees for starters. And in today's work-from-home environment, working from a cruise ship is getting popular.
I love that.
Especially if you don't have to be in the office every day. Oh, yes, I wish.
Yeah, a hot desk on a cruise ship. This is sounding good.
I know more and more couples who can run their businesses during their travels are holding Zoom calls with managers or clients from a luxury cruise ship.
This is brilliant, Peter. I think there's something in this. I read recently that one company is offering 3-year cruises.
Whoa.
And they're now working with international schools so that kids can be educated while they sail. Don't tell my children that.
And they pretty well sold out. But we're not talking about 3 years today. Today we're going to discuss some great journeys that should polish off a few bucket list items all in one go. And all in the lap of luxury. We are taking a journey with one of my personal favourites, the very elegant and grand Regent Seven Seas Cruises.
Well, I'm very delighted that you've said that, Peter. I'm keen for some luxurious time at sea today.
We know, Rose.
Yes. And you've mentioned a few key words there that are also clues as to what's in store for us. Firstly, you said grand, which describes perfectly the 5 new Grand Voyages. That's literally what they're called. And also 7 seas, because the 5 Grand Voyages we're exploring today are covering every corner of the oceans, departing in 2025 and 2026, ranging from 61 nights to, as we said, 117 nights.
Yes, love that you picked up on my clues, Rose.
I always listen to you, Peter.
And Regent Seven Seas has brought the sale of these journeys forward because demand for longer trips is now so high.
Now, Regent Seven Seas sold out on the 2025 World Cruise without it even officially opening for reservations. This
Amazing.
is insane. So anyone who didn't pre-register could not secure their suite.
And these go on sale on May 4. So our advice, contact Regent Seven Seas or your travel advisor straight after listening to this podcast.
Yeah, keep listening for this, but then as soon as we finish...
Yes, don't leave.
Get them on speed dial now.
Today may feel something like a magical treasure hunt as we take our listeners to some of the most spectacular destinations on Earth, on board the world's most luxurious fleet. And with 5 grand voyages to discover, I have the feeling we're going to unearth some real gems.
I love where we're going with this, Peter. I have my 1980s virtual metal detector ready and my magnifying spy glasses. Let the treasure hunt begin.
Sounds fabulous. You won't need your spy gadgets today, though, Rose, because we've got our very own guide.
Yes.
Let's welcome Regent Seven Seas Cruises' very own Vice President of Sales and General Manager for the Asia-Pacific region, Lisa Pyle.
Hello, Peter. Hello, Rose. How are you both?
Wonderful
Great
now.
to see you.
Yeah, great to see you too. I love the name, the treasure hunt, Rose, because I really do think that these grand voyages are like adult treasure hunts.
Yes.
Oh, well, we're never too old for a good treasure hunt or a metal detector from the 80s. They're back in vogue, I hear. So now, Lisa, I can't tell you how pleased I am that you're joining us today and what we've decided to call the Global Treasure Hunt because Regent's 5 new Grand Voyages, they really do feel like that. And there's so much to talk about.
There is so much to cover in this fantastic podcast today.
Yep, and we're really going to drill down into some of these voyages so we can actually take you to these amazing places. Lisa, I have to congratulate you and the team. It's an amazing list. From 61 nights on the Grand Asia Exploration, which goes Auckland to Tokyo aboard the Seven Seas Explorer in January 2026, to the Grand Arctic Adventure from New York to Barcelona aboard Mariner in July 2025. 83 nights.
Now, mine is the Indian Ocean Odyssey, Port Louis to Rome on Voyager in February of 2026, or the Grand Cultural Quest, which is New York to Barcelona on Mariner for the incredible 117 nights, and that's in July of 2025.
Sounds fabulous. And coming closer to home, Barcelona to Sydney on the Grand Continental Sojourn in October 2025 aboard Navigator for 84 nights.
Wow, that's 12 weeks of magnificent luxury.
Yes.
So, how would you plan for an incredible journey like any of these? What would you pack? What would you prepare?
Well, I first have to say that we have an incredible itinerary planning department, so I can't take any credit for those magnificent voyages. But look, when you're talking about packing, especially for Regent, and in Australia, even if you're travelling at the pointy end of the plane, you're only allowed 40 kilos of luggage at max. So we say pack sensibly. All your laundry is done for you. You just want to make sure you've got casual elegance, but you also want to have those clothes where you can go out and explore those beautiful destinations. So just be sensible.
Yes.
And don't forget the purchases along the way.
Oh, well, that's always where I go wrong. So I just take a super large suitcase with very little in it to begin with.
And very big wheels.
And very big wheels and your personal porter.
Correct.
Well, look, I would say that let's not forget everything is included, including unlimited shore excursions, unlimited beverages, all dining, including specialty restaurants and 24-hour room service, and a one-night pre-cruise hotel package and prepaid gratuities. So really no need to take too much.
There's no need to take too much. And, whenever we go on holidays, we tend to overpack. So just be sensible. It's elegant, casual, and, of course, depending on which part of the world that you're heading. But don't forget, Regent Seven Seas Cruises is a classic ocean cruising company, so we follow the sun. So we shouldn't be in too many colder climes, I should say.
I'm glad to hear that. But there are gala nights.
We do have the occasional gala night.
I love a gala night.
We don't have forced gala nights, but of course, if you're wearing your lovely long gown or your suit, you won't look out of place. But they're not forced formal nights.
Excellent, excellent. But I know that many people, including my better half, believes that these trips are a chance to get
dress
out
up.
the jewels.
I
And
agree.
and I
I
so
agree.
agree too.
Yes, and especially with those specialty restaurants, they're just divine.
They are.
Absolutely. Peter loves any excuse for the penguin suit.
It's
really.
true. It's true.
Breakfast, lunch,
I'd
dinner.
be sleeping in it.
And thank goodness for this valet laundry service on an epic journey like this.
Absolutely. And then look, if depending on which suite type you're travelling with, you also have your own personal butler. So the butler will look after your laundry. I know, Rose and Peter, you do not have to do your own knickers. It can be done for you. It is a lovely way to travel. And, we honestly believe when you're going on a journey or you're going on a trip of a lifetime or a holiday, the last thing you want to be doing is worrying about things like that. You're too busy discovering the world.
Exactly.
So true.
I'd
Absolutely.
even go so far as to say don't bother packing a book. The amount of times I've done a cruise and taken, 3 books thinking I'll be sitting around doing, this.
You don't need to pack a book, Rose. Well, we have these beautiful libraries on board and they have over 3,000 gorgeous books in them.
Fantastic.
Plus, of course, don't forget you have your Wi-Fi, so you can have your iPad, you can read your audio books,
Yes.
Kindle. So,
Yes.
look, no need to unnecessarily pack is what I say.
But that's it. I mean, I just don't even find the time. Once I
No.
get on board, I'm having so much fun and I'm meeting so many people that the idea of sitting down and reading is like a waste of time, really.
You will not get bored. You
No.
won't have a lot of time, I must say.
Now, you're expecting quite a rush for these suites, I think, even though there are 5 amazing journeys to choose from.
Do you know, Peter, when we put these itineraries out, you've got to remember, and what we tell our Australian clientele is these sailings are being sold into globally.
Yeah.
So, we've got guests from the United States, the UK, Europe, Asia. So they're going global. So to get the to get the sailing, I should say, and the suite type that you want, you really need to, think about it. But let's say don't think too long.
Yes. Yeah.
And we're not doing the hard sell. It's just that it's limited inventory. Don't forget these magnificent ships are all suite or balcony.
Wow.
So we're not talking a huge number of suites here per ship.
And we're talking about many of your loyal cruisers as well, because
Yes.
these people are pretty savvy.
They're very savvy,
They have
Rose.
their calendars set. They have alarms set. They know when they are about to just log straight on and book pretty
Absolutely.
quickly.
And
Yeah.
don't forget the repeat guest rate for us. So, our past guests, they're all over it, as you say, and they're waiting for those new itineraries to come out. And that's exactly why we have to be so creative with itineraries, because we have so many past guests.
And the amazing thing is they pounce on those enormous suites first.
They
Yes.
do
I
sell
was-
out first,
I
I do have
was-
to say.
I know. I was taking a look on your website and I noticed that the owner's suite had gone for at least 3 cruises this year.
The Regent Suite?
Yes.
Yes, that magnificent, the most exclusive address at sea.
The very
Peter,
one.
yes,
the
that's
very
correct.
one. You and I have been in them. They're
Yes,
lovely.
absolutely beautiful.
But they
Peter,
are
Pe-
about $10,000 a night.
Yes,
But
but
that-
it's a great value. And if you look at, if you look at hotels around the world now,
Yes.
and you're looking at something equivalent, and don't forget the Regent Suite is 413 square metres
Whoa.
of complete luxury.
Yes.
And you have your own butler, you have your own barman, you have your own driver and car in every port of call,
And your own spa
and your own spa.
with gold taps.
With gold taps. It is very, very special, I have to
Let's
say.
not-
So
let's
it's
not
great
hide it.
value.
Peter, I'm concerned at how much detail you know.
I know everything about
He's
that.
tried to
suite.
check in a
It
few
is-
times,
I
Rose.
have,
I
yes.
think
I've always
Peter-
been put the Picasso in the hallway.
That's true.
Now, who puts their Picasso
In the hallway?
Yes.
Because you've got a Chagall in the dining room.
Well, I suspect that Peter actually falls asleep at night. Instead of counting sheep, he just takes himself visually to his happy place, the suite.
The Regent Suite,
I
yes,
do.
I can
I
imagine.
do
Yeah.
indeed. I've tried to recreate.
Now, Lisa, I've got to say I'm ditching my metal detector because you are our official treasure hunt guide. So let's get this underway and let's drill down into where you'll go and what you'll do across the 5 Grand Voyages.
Yeah, let's start with the 83-night Grand Arctic Adventure, which includes Greenland, Iceland, Scotland, and Scandinavia.
Is there a lot of sunshine in these destinations?
There is,
There
because we
is.
start off at a good time of year. It is absolutely beautiful. So if I look at this Grand Arctic Adventure, look where we start. Now, this is a bucket list item for a lot of people. Either coming into New York as a port or departing from New York is one of those trips of a lifetime.
Yeah.
So what a great way to start. So out of New York, you're then heading down that east coast, calling to those beautiful ports of call like Boston and Halifax, and then you're going over the Labrador Sea to Greenland, to Nook and Pumuit.
Wow.
And then, of course, then you're going over across to Iceland. Now, Iceland is a hot destination. We just can't sell enough. I mean,
Love
it
it.
sounds funny, doesn't it?
Sounds
Iceland,
pretty
hot
funny.
destination.
right
but,
now.
but it is in demand.
But this amazing sailing does Iceland very intensely, and then we're going down through to Europe as well. So absolutely beautiful. You even go as far down as Seville,
Oh,
and then of course
really?
ending up in Barcelona. But look at that magnificent itinerary. It is absolutely superb, and of course on this particular sailing, you've got up to 364 shore excursions included. So
Wow.
this really is a trip of a lifetime.
That's a
this particular
year's
one.
worth of excursions.
It is, but 83 nights. How absolutely
Wow.
divine.
And you do stop in a number of places. In Reykjavik, for instance, you're there for 2 nights. I
We
think.
are in Reykjavik
And
for 2
Reykjavik
nights.
does have an incredible nightlife, I'm told.
It is, but for those of your listeners who love photography, Iceland is the perfect place to take your camera.
Wow.
The topography is absolutely incredible, and it's a contrast of amazing colours. So definitely, if you're thinking of this cruise, pack the camera.
And then there's the Faroe Islands.
Oh, Faroe Islands. Now, what is
More
the
sheep than people.
I know, I did notice that, but what else is the Faroe Islands famous for?
I don't know.
It's that beautiful little puffin bird.
Oh my gosh, I
Oh.
love those.
That's exactly right. So you've got the sheep.
the orange beak.
That's correct. And you've got that
Beautiful.
magnificent little puffin bird.
Well, you had me at New York, Lisa, really, but this is just sounding epic.
Absolutely. And don't forget Martha's Vineyard. I love Martha's Vineyard. I mentioned Boston and Portland and, of course, Maine, where we get that magnificent seafood from, and then off to Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, and then, of course, as I mentioned, Greenland and Iceland as well.
And that's just the first month.
That's
as I
just the
understand
first
it.
month.
So and then sail on to stunning European locations in the summer.
The best of both worlds.
The best of both worlds.
Absolutely
that's correct.
fabulous. So this is when you go on a French holiday. We're talking about Paris, people jumping into their Renaults and taking off to the coast.
Ooh la la.
The whole of France goes on holiday, and we'll be there aboard this ship at the most expensive time in France, but paying our normal rates on board our ship.
Yes, it is really the perfect time of year to be on board, and it's a wonderful time of year to see Europe as well.
And then Poland, Lithuania, Stockholm, Helsinki. It's just an amazing
And then
list.
we've also got Estonia and Copenhagen and Oslo.
My gosh.
I know
Wow.
it really does tick every box indeed, I must say. Just
And we're in
absolutely gorgeous.
September now, and we've covered 7 countries, and there's still more to do.
Still going.
Yeah, and don't forget, we're also heading down to the Mediterranean, and and places like Bordeaux. And I really do think it's a lovely time of year to be in Europe around that September time because you're out of that peak season.
Yeah, less crowded.
It's less crowded. It's not so hot because Europe can get very, very warm.
Yes.
Very
And
much so.
there is nothing better. Bordeaux is one of my favourite destinations.
Yes.
Peter, tell me, how many private chateaux are there producing wine?
I'm so glad you asked me that. There are 5,660 chateaux producing 700 million bottles.
I know,
Oh
it's
my
incredible, isn't it?
gosh.
And
Heaven.
it is
Lisa.
heaven. And my favourite wine shop in the entire world is in Bordeaux, and it's called Le Attendant.
Le Attendant.
It's absolutely beautiful. It's in the old town. So if you get a chance and you're wandering through the streets of Bordeaux, make sure you call in to see that wine shop.
Sounds
It is truly
That's-
spectacular.
That's an insider tip. Make sure you write that one down, listeners.
Yep.
Okay, so we're still only in the middle of September. What's left?
Well, we've got Biarritz, the west coast of France. I love Biarritz. It's the less travelled, but I always say that this part of the coast of France, going down into Spain and then onto Portugal, etc., is the foodie paradise.
Oh, yes.
So if you're a foodie person, which a lot of Australians are, we love our food and love our wine, but we also appreciate the wonderful produce.
Yes.
Then this is the part of the world you want to be. So Biarritz, Porto in Portugal, Lisbon, then on to Sevilla as well, before finalising and ending the trip in the most fabulous city of Barcelona.
Barcelona.
A climax indeed. I love Barcelona. Those huge walking miles where you can wander through the shops. And also you talked about the produce. Just popping into those little bars where they carve you the ham.
The jamon and
Yes.
the pinchers and the
Oh.
tapas and
Queza.
and they're so friendly and always so pleased to see
Cerveza,
you.
the beer.
Yes.
As soon as they realise that you're not actually local, they will actually get you to try almost everything. They're wonderfully friendly.
Yeah, it is. And then don't forget, you've got in Barcelona, of course, off the the Ramblas, is that fantastic mercado, the market.
Yes.
In Barcelona. You can spend an entire day and it is just a feast for the eyes. The colour, the food, the tasting you can do there. It is a truly wonderful city.
It
And
really
that,
is.
And that architecture, that
Oh,
Gaudi architecture,
yes.
so extraordinary.
It is extraordinary.
And the cathedral that they've been building for
It's actually, well, I, have,
La
20
Sagrada
years.
Familia.
I must say it's nearly finished.
is.
I was
Oh my
most
gosh.
impressed when I was there last. It's nearly
Yes,
finished.
I was there in September and it is extraordinary.
Yes,
Yes.
it's come a long way.
Yes. But I do recommend you do your research, and no doubt with these cruises, you're going to have lots of insider tips as well from the crew. And you can, I hear, book a 4-night stay in Barcelona before you return home.
That's correct. So it's one of our post-cruise packages. So make sure that you take advantage of this and just extend your holiday that little bit more from the
Yes.
84 nights.
Phenomenal.
Fabulous.
Why wouldn't you? You're mad not
Why
to,
wouldn't you? That's
really.
exactly right.
Well, we've gone through this itinerary to give listeners a real idea of just how much they get on a cruise like this.
And there's still so much more that we haven't even covered.
Yes.
Yes, so true. So these are amazing grand journeys indeed. And as you can see, throughout this trip, if you were ever to try and multiply the cost of making this trip by air, staying in hotels and finding your restaurants, the cost would be just enormous.
It would be.
So the value that's being offered is amazing. So let's look at the other journeys. How about the Grand Cultural Quest? This is for those who still haven't had enough of their grand Arctic adventure. Is that right, Lisa?
More.
I think so. I believe it's another 34 nights.
Wow.
Whoa.
And it gives you that opportunity to then experience 589 shore excursions and 9 port overnight stays, which is wonderful. We love our overnight stays in ports because it allows you to immerse yourself in that destination a bit more.
Absolutely. So,
So-
which destinations can we do that
It's
in?
really, really glamorous. You'll love this, Rose. This
Okay.
is your kind of destination. So we've got wonderful Marseille.
Yes, I'm there.
Then Saint-Tropez.
Oh, that's
you can
for
see
you,
the outfits already,
Peter.
can't you?
Oh,
Are
yes.
you packing?
Lots of bling.
Rome,
Yes.
Athens,
I
Istanbul,
love Istanbul.
Jerusalem,
Oh, wow.
Cairo,
Cairo.
Yes.
Alexandria,
Bring it on.
Valletta, and of course, gorgeous Sardinia.
Oh,
I'm melting. This is incredible. There are more places than I can even imagine in one trip. So, who do you think this cruise is ultimately made for?
Do you know, it's a really interesting question because, Peter mentioned earlier that it's retirees, semi-retirees to start with. And yes, that is a point. But what we're seeing more and more is younger people cruising because they look at their parents and they think, we don't want to leave it until later in life. We want to get out there and enjoy the world now. And it's also people that are celebrating. They may have sold a business. They might be celebrating a special birthday, a special anniversary.
Yes.
It might be a group of friends getting together. It's so different. It's people from all walks of life. But of course, they all have one thing in common. They want to get out there and discover the world. And the atmosphere on board these ships with the Grand Voyages is truly magnificent. People decorate their doors on their suites and, there's some real camaraderie and people meet like-minded people. So there's a
Yes.
lot of friendships made on board cruising.
And they become lifelong friendships.
do.
Because you have these moments together that are priceless and that bonds people and they become friends for many years.
You're correct. I mean, people create these unforgettable memories on board these cruises. And as I said, it attracts like-minded people. So it is a wonderful, wonderful way to travel. It really is quite a romantic way to travel.
It is.
I always believe cruising and train travel is that yesteryear romantic form of travel.
You get swept away.
but you are quite right. The fabulous part is in the bar after your day's excursions,
It is.
exchanging stories and actually eventually exchanging addresses, because I think I've made more friends on cruise ships that we've kept in touch with really across the world.
Yes.
And that really is a marvellous side benefit, if you like,
It's so
of
true.
taking a trip like this. And of course, an undertaking at this kind of length would absolutely bond people together. And for our Aussie cruisers, you'll be pleased to learn that you can travel from Barcelona to Sydney on 84 nights aboard Seven Seas Navigator.
Wow. This is going to be popular, Lisa.
I think it's going to be very, very popular. I mean, Barcelona is such a fantastic, as we were just discussing, it's an incredibly easy place for Australians to get to. The airlift is very, very good, but what a beautiful sailing. So it departs in October, as Peter said, in 2025. It's 84 nights, once again, up to 213 shore excursions, 5 overnight stays in ports, an exclusive shoreside experience. And I do want to touch on the price here because I really do think this is incredible value for money. It is starting from 71,565 Australian dollars per person, which works out to be $852 per person per day.
Yep.
Now, where can you get a holiday at that price that includes absolutely everything, where you do not need to put your hand in your pocket? It is almost, you can't compete with that price.
I think you're so right. And people do forget not just that you get all the food you'd want to get, and we're talking fine dining. You get incredible meals and wines. You get shore excursions. You get an amazing service experience. You get entertained. And this is the one thing people do forget, you get transported.
You do get transported.
No need to go to the airport. No need to
No.
buy a flight.
And this is a
no
one
need
flight.
to take your baggage.
That's
Yes.
correct. So don't forget, this is a one-flight trip. So, when we're talking about what kind of people want this kind of cruise, It all depends if they want one or two flights. And this is one flight. This is one way to Barcelona, and you head home on that magnificent cruise.
And I must say, look, one of the great attractions here is these destinations. Casablanca in Morocco, down the east coast of Africa to Cape Town, Madagascar, Seychelles, Oman, Qatar. These are all wonderful places with very different cultures.
And the perfect way to do many of these places is actually by cruise. I mean, how many people would get to go to the Comoros Islands?
Yes.
Or Madagascar?
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost near impossible, right? So I just think some of these beautiful destinations, as you mentioned, and don't forget when you're travelling that Arabian coastline as well, and then you're going down the coast of India.
Yes.
And, you know, Regent, one of the lovely things that I love about Regent is when you're travelling, it's an example, when you're travelling down that coast of India and you're on one of these longer cruises, you can do an overnight an overnight excursion. It isn't a slightly additional cost, but then you go into Rajasthan and you go and stay in a palace and see.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the Taj Mahal.
Yes.
And you come out and you pick up the cruise the next day. So it allows you to discover places even more so than what you're seeing on the itinerary.
Phenomenal.
So the ship actually goes on, but you join it at another port?
That's correct. You pick it up in another port and we still look after you. You're part of an overland program.
That's amazing.
It is
more
amazing.
Stories to tell.
With more stories to tell.
And I must say, it is so worthwhile. So I've done India, and staying in those palaces is an unforgettable experience.
It is an unforgettable experience. I think no one does palace stays quite like India.
You're so right. You're so right.
No, this is really definitely sticking to the idea of the treasure hunt now. I've been transported, and as you said, India and then I believe Southeast Asia.
Yes,
so
we do,
talk us
Rose.
through this.
Yeah, so we go up to Yangon, which for your older listeners would remember that as Rangoon.
Yes.
In Myanmar, Burma, I should say.
Yes,
So that's that's an area that's really starting to see tourism and welcome tourism, but it's still in its very early days. So it's a lovely time to discover
It really is.
Yangon. And then down, of course, to some of our favourite places like Phuket and Penang and Kuala Lumpur for a lovely, what's your favourite dish in Malaysia?
Beef rendang.
Yeah, me too. I love it. So I was hoping you'd say that, Peter.
Now
I was hoping
I'm
you'd say that.
hungry.
I know. But then you can go on to Singapore as well. I love Singapore.
Yes.
It is just such an easy place for us to visit. It almost feels like
and
home
this is
for
where
us.
we do our shopping.
This is where we do a bit of shopping. And then, of course, you're going to be sailing through that magnificent Indonesian archipelago. People don't understand how beautiful the islands of Indonesia are.
So pristine.
And the water.
Yes.
The colour of the water is absolutely incredible. So you'll sail through there, you'll call into Java, Surabaya, Bali.
Wow.
And that's before heading down across the Timor Sea to my old hometown of Darwin.
Exactly.
And I do want to tell you it's the highlight of this trip.
Oh my God, we were sounding so exotic until Darwin.
But I think that's so lovely. I mean, what a great way to re-enter home than to actually have this tremendous cruise from Darwin to Cairns, then on to the Whitsundays and Brisbane.
Absolutely. And look, I just, down the east coast of Australia, and you actually do even get to call into Cooktown as well, which
I
is
was
amazing.
going to say, talk about cultural differences.
this really is the cruise with everything.
It is the cruise with absolutely everything. I don't think, though, once you get to Sydney and you come into our magnificent harbour in Sydney, that you'll really be wanting to get off.
No, you'd have to carry me off.
Yes.
I agree.
So tell me, just logistically, when does this one depart, Lisa?
So this particular sailing departs on the 31st of October in 2025, Barcelona to Sydney. So you've got a year and a bit to think about it, or
No, you don't.
Well, you don't have a lot to think
Book
about
now.
it. You've got to book now, and you've got a year and a bit to pay. But it is absolutely a wonderful opportunity. It's a trip of a lifetime,
Yes.
and don't forget, listeners, it's for those travellers who really only want the one airfare. But what a wonderful way to head home.
I so agree.
personally quite like booking something and then knowing that I've got that to look forward to on the horizon.
I think a lot of people do, Rose. I mean, don't forget, we're avid bookers bookers of travel in advance. The only people who beat us are our Kiwi neighbours.
Really?
And so we tend to book cruise about 18 months in advance.
Yeah.
But the Kiwis are ahead of the game. They're usually booking about 2 years out.
They don't want to get left out.
They
that's
do
right.
not
They
want to
do
be
not
left
want to
out.
be
They
left
know
out.
that they're further south, so they're not going to be missing that ship. But honestly, for the listeners, please get in there, choose your suite, make sure you get your name down, and these sailings are truly trips of a lifetime.
And if Asia is your thing, and I must say I love cruising in Asia, Auckland to Tokyo on Explorer,
Yes,
the
this is
most luxurious ship ever built. One of my personal favourites.
So this one's called the Grand Asia Exploration.
Correct.
Just a wonderful ship to be sailing in.
Yes, no, this one leaves in January, the 12th of January in 2026, so a little bit more time. It is 61 nights.
Fabulous.
And this is an absolutely beautiful sailing. In the last couple of years, we have done Sydney to Tokyo, but we've taken it that little extra and now we're doing Auckland to Tokyo.
Yeah.
It really is a very spectacular sailing. And what makes this sailing so different is rather than going up the east coast this time, we're going to go across the bottom of Australia and up the west coast.
Through the Bight.
That's correct, and up the west coast. So you're really getting to see a different part of Australia, and it's a different route for us. So really exciting that we've taken on that new itinerary there.
And then Singapore, Bangkok, Ho Chi Minh, Manila, and Hong Kong.
Yeah, some of Asia's most vibrant cities, I must say, before calling into Taipei and Ishigaki. Shanghai, you even get to do Shanghai.
Wow.
You even get to do Busan, South Korea. And then you've got Nagasaki, Osaka, Nagoya, and finally Tokyo. Now, let me tell you, I've just been in Japan welcoming this cruise from Sydney to Tokyo. And, of course, it arrives just in time for those magnificent cherry blossoms.
Of course, the cherry blossom.
You can't miss out on that.
It really is fantastic. And this particular sailing, I do want to touch on price because, once again, I think this is an incredible opportunity because we all know how expensive some parts of Asia are, especially when we're looking at land and also hotels. So this works out to be about 1,200 Australian dollars per person per day.
That's really reasonable.
Everything included.
Phenomenal.
So that's the Grand Asia Exploration.
Yes, another. So that's a beautiful sailing. So you've got Barcelona to Sydney if you want one flight, and then you've also got Auckland to Tokyo. And then, of course, when you get to Tokyo, try and stay on a little longer as well because that truly is a fantastic city.
And a foodie's delight.
Foodie's delight, the most Michelin star restaurants than anywhere in the world.
Is that right?
And, you know, people, when they get a bit of a wrong idea about Michelin stars, they think it's fine dining, etc. A lot of Michelin stars these days are not fine dining. They're holes in the wall.
Yeah, little dumpling houses.
Correct.
Yes.
So beautiful little sushi houses that might only seat 10. So make sure you discover these wonderful places.
And they are the best, aren't they?
They are.
Actually, making a discovery like that is really tremendous.
Okay, are we up to the last but by no means least, the Indian Ocean Odyssey?
I know, this is brand new for us. This is a beautiful sailing.
Wow. Now, this one departs February 12, 2026 on board the Seven Seas Voyager.
Correct. And this one is actually, where are we starting from? We're actually starting from
Port Louis.
Port Louis. Yes. Are you calling it Port Louis and I call it Port Louis?
It should be Port Louis.
Port Louis.
Louis? My bad.
Yeah, so Port Louis, we're starting from Port Louis and then we're heading right up to Rome.
Oh,
So Port Louis
wonderful.
in Mauritius. Have you been to Mauritius, Peter?
I have.
I have not. I have to be honest to your listeners, I actually have not been to Mauritius, but I did live in Tanzania for 3 years. So
Oh,
this
wow.
really touches on some of my favourite parts of the world. But what a wonderful place to start, Port Louis in Mauritius.
Absolutely fabulous. Blue waters, iconic beaches,
And the
Yeah.
culture.
and great adventure activities too.
And the food there, of course, you've got that Creole.
Yes.
It's that wonderful mixture of food. So
The
beautiful food
seafood
there.
is so to die for.
It is absolutely. So here, Rose, you're going from Port Louis, you're then going around to Nossa Bay and down to Madagascar and Toliara and then right down to Cape Town.
Wow.
Coming back up and then calling into my old hometown of Dar es Salaam before heading on to Mahe in the Seychelles. And that's just a beautiful part of the world before going up into the Arabian coast, doing
Yes.
Salalah, Dubai, Kasab, Muscat.
Oh, They all sound so romantic, don't
So
they?
exotic.
I know, but then you're also calling. I love this particular cruise because you're calling into Jeddah. Now, Saudi Arabia is really opening up, and what a great way. Jeddah is, did you know that Jeddah is one of the oldest cities in the world?
I did know that. And
Oh.
it's fantastic.
It is
It's
fantastic.
tremendous.
It is unbelievable. And then, of course, we get to call into Luxor and see the Valley of the Kings.
Oh.
I mean, absolutely beautiful. Aqaba, now I spent quite a bit of time in Aqaba. It's in Jordan. It's on the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is known to have the healing qualities
Yes.
for any skin ailments. I mean, I swam in the Dead Sea.
Is that the one where people float around reading their papers?
Because,
They do,
yeah.
but there's no way you can ever drown. Even if you're a non-swimmer, it is impossible to drown. And, you know, people always say, don't get the salt in your eyes. You can't get your head underwater.
Right.
So there is no way you can get salt in your eyes. But I do have to say, I opened a hotel on the Dead Sea in Aqaba, and there was a very preeminent skin clinic next door. And I used to get told to go down and cover myself in the mud of the Dead Sea, lie in the sun and let it dry, and then go into the Dead Sea to take it off. And they'd say you feel and look amazing. Well, it's true. You do come out looking like a supermodel.
Really?
Oh, wow.
It is. It
when,
is
when do
where
I
do I
leave?
book?
so fantastic. But the other lovely thing about Aqaba, it is also the entry point for Petra.
Oh.
So,
yes.
you know, there are so many wonderful things about heading down this part of the world. And this particular cruise ticks so many boxes of wonderful places
And
to
Petra,
see.
of course, is one of those iconic destinations that people have on their bucket list.
It is. And then, of course, you transverse through the Suez Canal. And then, of course, you're in the Mediterranean.
Oh, hello.
And now
I
we're
know.
now we're
Ta-da.
talking.
To die for.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I believe we're visiting Mykonos and Athens.
Yes.
We have
Santorini.
Santorini.
Yes.
Some of
I
my
know, gorgeous.
favourites.
And
Corfu.
Corfu, Sicily. I mean, you're doing all the islands here. It's really a very glamorous part of the cruise. But you also, I think one of the other lovely destinations that we're visiting here is Kusadasi, also known as Ephesus.
Yep.
And that is the UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's that ancient city.
Oh, wow.
And no matter how many times you go, you discover something new. It really is wow factor.
Incredible.
And then ending with a crescendo.
Oh,
Yes.
good word there, Peter.
The
Crescendo in Rome.
The only city, I believe, that can see off Barcelona. Because
Yes.
I love
Yes.
Rome.
Rome
I
is very
love
pretty.
Rome. And I just love the sights and I just love that city. So
It is. And the colours of Rome, I think the light in Rome is just so pretty. It's this very soft light and it really is very, very special.
And around every corner, the most amazing statues, the most amazing architecture. It was if, you know, really there were thousands and thousands of sculptures with nothing to do but do a sculpture. Maybe they paid for their coffee with it.
It's still, do you know, I have
Everywhere.
to say though, it still amazes me every time I go to Rome and I'm sitting there looking at the Colosseum or I'm walking in the Colosseum and you remember that movie
Yes.
Gladiator.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
And you just think, wow, thank goodness I live in this era.
Yes.
Because it would have been terrifying.
It would, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But don't you? I think they've been seen off now. But do you remember all those lovely gladiators that hang around the Colosseum waiting for a picture with you?
I never saw any of those. They must have been
hundreds
there
of them.
especially for you.
Hundreds of them.
Stop
That's,
hanging out in dark corners of the Colosseum,
they're
Peter.
standing outside, because you want your picture with Spartacus, right?
Oh, cool. Well, if it's Russell Crowe, I'd take a photo.
And I'll
you
give you
go.
another great tip, by the way, about Rome, and that is when we were last there, we were told how terrible it was to get into the Vatican, long queues. 6 o'clock on a Sunday. I know this sounds very odd.
Oh.
No queue, and they're all preparing for their Sunday services. They're very friendly and welcoming.
Yes.
No queues.
I have to agree with you. I actually went on a Sunday morning, and then I actually came back and I attended one of the Vatican church sessions
Wow.
in the square
Yes.
with Papa Francesco, the Pope, current
No
Pope,
way.
Right.
and it was absolutely incredible. Me and 5,000 of my closest friends.
Oh
so
my
I wasn't
goodness.
special going back there, but you know, it's one of those things. Even if you're not a Catholic, to do that is an absolutely incredible thing
Very
to do.
moving.
It's very moving.
I have to share a little story. When I was at the Vatican, I was so tired of walking all day that I needed to sit down, and so I found a confessional booth, and just so I could just put my feet up for a while.
4 hours later.
And it was wonderful.
You had a free session.
I did.
Yes.
The
Did they
priest-
solve your problems?
The priest was lovely.
Oh, isn't that lovely? I think that's a lovely story.
It is.
But it really is a very, very special place. Now, this particular cruise, it's 64 nights. It's on the Seven Seas Voyager, up to 172 included shore excursions. Once again, 5 overnight stays in ports and an exclusive shoreside experience. But this one works out to be about 1,000 Australian dollars per person per day, which
Phenomenal.
is absolutely incredible value.
You can't beat that if you try to do it yourself any other way.
There's no way you can do it, Rose.
No way.
Well, that's an amazing collection, Lisa. In fact, over 1,400 shore excursions and over 400 nights
Wow.
aboard the ships in total.
Can I do all of them?
I know, it would be lovely, wouldn't it? To be able to do them back to back would be nice. Near impossible, but
that would be.
Lisa, I have to say, I know you don't take credit for it, but you must be feeling very proud of these itineraries.
You know, we are very proud, and I think the feedback we get from discerning travellers, and some of them are new clients to us, some of them are past guests, but, you know, people are looking for these lovely wanderlust list items to tick off. And these are really very, very special itineraries. You know, they have done us proud, the itinerary planning department. They're beautiful.
What a great bunch of people. I might become friends with them. But let's not forget, when booking with Regent Seven Seas Cruises and looking at all of these price points, as we've just mentioned, these cruises are all inclusive, which is pretty extraordinary, really, in my book, because it takes your cruise to the next level. You get to just sit back and relax and enjoy every moment without having to worry about your budget or taking your credit cards or anything.
Correct. And, you know, Rose, Peter was talking before about one of the lovely things, you know, about Regent is that you meet these like-minded people and everyone's very friendly and you have a chat. And, you know, the biggest joke on board Regent is it's my shout tomorrow night. Because I think there's a different level. It puts people on a different level when there's not money being taken and people don't feel they have to owe someone.
Yes.
So it is really a lovely way to meet people. And I think the all-inclusive nature, for those people that are slightly risk-averse or they want to know their budget, this is absolutely the way to go. And I would say to any of your listeners out there booking a cruise, no matter what cruise or cruise company it is, always make sure you write down what the inclusions are.
Yes.
Because it is a huge benefit to have all the inclusions.
And you're right. And I'd like to just underscore that. I know that saying it's my shout is a bit funny, but we make a great point of actually having dinner with, going up to people and saying, where are you dining tonight? How would you like to have dinner with us? We've made some great friends doing it, and we've certainly got some great international perspectives.
Yeah, and there's people from all parts of the world.
They really want to talk about their own country. They want to learn about your country. It's just a great way to make friends. And as you said, of course, inviting people to the specialty restaurants doesn't cost a thing.
Doesn't cost a thing, no.
So let's talk about some of these included bespoke amenities that are part of the all-inclusive experience.
Yeah, so these are specially designed just for these Grand Voyages. So you've got your all-inclusive nature, and then on top of that, for the Grand Voyages, we have a pre-cruise hotel package and dinner. So that means that if you're arriving into Barcelona to get on your cruise back to Sydney, you stay in a beautiful hotel. We have a special dinner for you where you get to meet your other fellow cruise passengers.
Wow.
So you get to know each other before you embark on the journey, on the ship. So it's a lovely way to start. And we do something very, very special. So each destination has something unique, which is lovely. And then we have the unlimited valet laundry, of course, including dry cleaning and pressing.
Wow.
So everything is taken care of.
We love this. Peter's underpants will be
Peter's
perfectly
underpants will be starched. Starched.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so painful.
You'll give him a heart attack, which is good because there's an onboard medical service included.
I was just going to say, you know, this is a really important part. There's onboard medical included in the Grand Voyages, and then of course we have up to $800 shipboard credit per person.
Fabulous.
Now, people will say, why do you give a shipboard credit when everything is included? Well, there are 3 things I can't help you with on the money side. So one is if you want to gamble in the casino, on the onboard casino and try your luck. The other is if you want to have spa treatment. So if you want to put that money towards beautiful massages or facials, that's absolutely wonderful too.
That's where I'll be.
Or if you want to spend it in the onboard boutiques.
Really?
Now you've got to remember the onboard boutiques are only open when we're out at sea because they're duty free.
Yes.
So there is a lot to spend the money on if you want to use that money for those experiences. Then we have these exclusive shoreside experiences in certain ports of call, and they really are surprises. They're something very, very special in chosen destinations.
Now, also, each Grand Voyage features many overnight stays and I believe Regent's prestigious guest speaker program.
Yeah, so they include the enrichment programs as we go around. So your entertainment is also included. So we have onboard entertainment, but we have a number of enrichment programs that take place throughout the duration of the Grand Voyages. And they can be speakers. It could be on architecture, art, it could be on environment, it could be political, history. So it varies depending on the destination we are in.
And, they really do add to the experience.
They do.
I've done a lot of those lectures before going into a city or a town, and they really give you another dimension on the place you're looking at. So they're very, very important, and a lot of them are incredibly entertaining and certainly knowledgeable.
Yeah, and we like to do them as prior to the arrival in the port of call, so people have a little knowledge of the destination.
Yes.
But of course, they take place in our beautiful constellation theatres. Each one of our ships has these gorgeous constellation theatres. So throughout the day they're used for the enrichment program, and of course, of an evening they turn into the entertainment.
Fantastic. Okay, now I want to give some context for any of our listeners who are yet to sail with Regent. We are talking about the height of luxury. Right, this is my favourite topic, by the way. And so for these sailings, guests will be cruising in true all-inclusive luxury aboard the Seven Seas Mariner, Navigator, Explorer and Voyager.
For those who have never sailed with Regent before, let's use Seven Seas Mariner as an example. She's a beautiful ship, and Lisa, I believe she was the first ever all-suite, all-balcony ship built in the world.
Now, she was a game changer when she was built and came to market. And, of course, Regent led the way in that. So, once again, we lead the way also with our next Explorer class ships as well. But Seven Seas Mariner, I know you're not supposed to have favourite children, but I do have to say she is mine. And that's probably because she was the first cruise ship, Regent cruise ship I sailed on back in 2012 when I was a hotelier.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And I just love Mariner. She's got this lovely space. She has a beautiful observation deck, which I love. We used to use her for the Alaska program, and then she was used for the World Cruise as well, and now Grand Voyages. So she's a lovely, lovely ship to go and see the world
She
in.
would have some stories to tell.
She would have a few stories
What
to tell.
a grand lady indeed. So now let's just talk about the amount of space. As you said, she's just enormous. She's very impressive. But also it means that there's approximately one crew member to 1.5 guests.
Yeah, so when you say enormous, she is in tonnage, she's about just over 50,000 tonnes, but she's got 348 beautiful suites, as we said, all suite, all balcony, and she carries only just about 696 guests.
Yes.
But of course, the crew on top of that is for about 500 crew, or 459 crew, I should say. So it's about we have some of the highest guest to space ratio in the industry, but also some of the highest guest to crew ratio. So you're really going to be pampered and looked after, and I can't speak highly enough of our crew. They have memories like elephants. They remember the most incredible things and people. I've always thought I had a wonderful memory. Well, I sometimes believe our crew put me to shame.
Amazing. And so that to me means there's a lot of personalised attention right through the voyage.
Regent is all about personalisation. That's one thing I do have to say about Regent. Our focus is on that personalisation.
And entertainment.
And entertainment.
A 2-floor theatre with Broadway-style shows on deck 5 and 6, and a putting green and golf nets on deck 12.
What fun.
Well, you can even go for a run. You can even go for a run around the ship.
Amazing. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, this is new age cruising, really. So don't forget as well the whirlpools and the spa, my personal favourite, right on board with every Regent ship.
Yeah, and I do want to touch on that, Rose, because I know you're a fitness freak. But one of the things I love to say is that on board there is no excuse for putting on weight because we have the most incredible fitness clubs.
Yes.
Our spas are amazing, our fitness clubs are amazing, and in fact you can do a class every morning before you go off and do your shore excursions.
Well, after the Dead Sea, and I'm coming back like a supermodel.
Oh, you are coming back like a supermodel.
Absolutely. But also, it's worth saying that the cuisine, it's not what people thought cruising was like
No,
in
not at all.
yesteryear. It's some of the most healthy, forward-focused,
Yeah.
nutritious, amazing, seasonally sourced produce.
Yes, and locally sourced. So when we're calling into ports of call, we bring on new produce, but also we cater for very many different types, including vegan. So we have a plant-based menu. There is something for everyone, and it's all made fresh on board.
Exactly.
I've got to tell you that it is healthy, but I've never forgotten how many times I hit the caviar trolley for breakfast. So it's so wonderful. There's a lovely waitress who comes around with a trolley, caviar and champagne,
Stop it.
and it's 9:30 in the morning. Oh,
At breakfast, Peter.
I'm
I
afraid
do
so.
have to say that for 10 days, when I did my cruise, and it wasn't one of these beautiful, longer, one of our Grand Voyages, but I did have lobster nachos and a glass of champagne every day for 10 days.
Good
For
for
breakfast,
you.
though,
For lunch,
Lisa?
that was for
That's
lunch.
all right. That's okay.
And there's art throughout the vessels, and I think that's something
Not just
Regent
any art.
is renowned for.
Yes.
Carefully curated onboard art collections, millions of dollars in fine arts paintings and sculptures. I know that certainly the leadership team is very keen on art, because I remember interviewing your president, who said he was actually in charge of buying most of the art for the
Wow.
new ships. And he and is in fact a connoisseur of art.
He is a connoisseur of art, and he's done an incredible job. As you just said, we have the most incredible art on board. You know, we've spoken about the Picassos and the Chagalls, and we have a lot of contemporary pieces as well.
Yes.
And until you get on board and actually walk around and have a look, you're just blown away by some of these beautiful, beautiful pieces. And it's not only art that's hanging on walls, it's beautiful glass pieces and lights and sculptures
Yes.
that are
Yes.
actually on board as well. So make sure when you're walking around a Regent ship that you actually take it in, and you can actually do self-guided art tours on board.
Yes, really fabulous.
I'd just like to think the Mona Lisa will be watching me everywhere I go if I'm on board.
We don't actually quite have the Mona Lisa yet, but we have some beautiful art pieces though. I have seen a couple that have got eyes like the Mona Lisa. But
that's all I need.
yeah.
Yes.
I was a bit disappointed in her size, I have to say.
Okay, let's get straight to the point. I'm hungry since you've mentioned the beef rendang. So let's just dive straight into the food on board the ship. As we've touched on, it is so fresh. It's not what it used to be on board a cruise ship today. The cuisine on board, specialty dining, this is next level.
It is next level, and we have between 5 and 8 different dining venues on board our ships, and that can be from Chartreuse, which is our classic French with a modern twist. We've got Prime 7, which is our wonderful classic American steakhouse.
Yum.
We have Setamare, which is our Italian, which a lot of the recipes come from the nonnas, from the chefs. It is truly remarkable.
Yep.
We've got Pacific Rim, which is our Pan-Asian cuisine. Australians love that because it's that real mixture of flavours of Asia. That is truly wonderful. We have one of the largest specialty restaurants at sea with Compass Rose.
Yes.
I love Compass Rose because one side of the menu changes daily and
Yep.
reflects where we are and the foods, and it's a build-your-own type menu. So it is truly wonderful. And of course, if you're having a moment where you want some private time, or you're just feeling a little antisocial, you can enjoy in-suite dining where they'll serve you course by course on that beautiful balcony or in your suite. And then we've got our coffee connection, which is really the social hub of the ship,
Yes.
where you can have a light breakfast, light lunch, where Peter can walk past and they have the wafting smell of those beautifully homemade cookies.
Freshly baked
Freshly
every
baked.
morning.
And then
Yes.
we have the pool grill as well. So for those that are wanting to enjoy a light lunch or a grill, you've got that open for lunches and dinners.
I've got to say that the Compass Rose is one of my favourites. It's a lovely traditional dining room, and I believe Versace plates is
Yes.
Beautiful.
the
Actually, in
order of
all
the
the
day.
restaurants, the cutlery, crockery and glassware in all the restaurants is really, really special. And for those people in the know, as soon as they see it, they know exactly what they're getting.
I completely agree. But I think, and I know you said that it is a very relaxed ship and the luxury is very relaxed, and that's completely true. But you do know you're in a lovely, formal setting in a restaurant, and the food is just magnificent.
The food is always
So-
magnificent. And I really have to take my hats off to the chefs because they do an incredible job with all the different food varieties, and the menu changes. Every day the menu is changing.
Correct.
To some degree.
But it feels like a special occasion, and
It
I really love
does.
that. But then the specialty restaurants just give you another dimension. And I must say that, some of my favourites, the steakhouse is just fantastic. And,
Prime 7, I
you
love
know,
Prime 7.
Exactly. I mean, you can say many ships have steakhouses, but I think Prime 7 is something very different.
Peter, I think one of the things we touch on there with the various restaurants, and don't forget the specialty restaurants, all of them have got their own sommeliers.
Yes.
So because wine and your premium beverages are included together with your food,
Yes.
you've got a sommelier there to help you pair. So you can actually do your own degustation menu. Or you can decide you want to try wines from all over the world. And I love the steakhouse. I love Prime 7 because it's got that lovely clubby atmosphere. You know,
It
the
has.
leather
You're right.
chairs and you've got, you know, the deep reds and you've even got Alaskan king crab. I think it's about 2 or 3 kilos of
Oh my
Alaskan king crab.
goodness.
I know Peter's tried the popcorn sundae.
Yes, delicious.
Well, I'm just going to throw out a daggy one line, but it just sounds like a cut above.
That's really a daggy
I
joke.
thought I
That's
made
pretty
those
bad.
jokes.
Yeah, that was I stole that one. I just don't know which one of these journeys I'm going to choose between. Of all the 5, they're all equally grand and adventurous and magical. I just don't know, Peter. How are we going to choose?
Well, you can only flip a coin. Personally, I mean, pinning tails on donkeys doesn't work either. But I must say that they are magnificent. They're fantastic. And that first journey, which absolutely takes you across all the continents and so many diverse cultures. What a bargain. What a way to see the world. When you get off that ship, you really experience just about every culture we have on the planet.
I agree. They really are very, very special journeys. And to your question, Rose, about which one do you choose, I suppose for a lot of people it's time dependent. And as we said, it's airfare. Do they want to go one way or do they want to go to, to have 2 flights?
That's true. But now that we know you can hot desk from your cruise, time is irrelevant because, anything's possible now, no matter where you are in the world. So
I think
got
that's
to
the only
say,
positive out of COVID.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure how the staff would take it if I was actually briefing them from the Compass Rose while consuming a lobster.
Well, either way,
champagne.
no matter which cruise you choose, I think, as we've said, these cruises will sell out. So if any of them or all of them sound like you, then pre-registrations are open now, with the reservations opening on the 4th of May.
Correct. And so I would advise your listeners to either give us a call at Regent Seven Seas Cruises, go to our website at rssc.com, or make sure you reach out to one of your fabulous travel advisors. I'm sure you've all got a travel advisor.
Yes.
And ask them about it because they've got a huge knowledge of our cruises, and they can always reach out to us as well.
And I would like to just quickly point out that the 4th of May, that's roughly 1 week before Mother's Day here in Australia. So for all of us,
excellent present for Mum.
our well-deserving mums out there who would be delighted with a cruise ticket this year, just saying.
It would be gorgeous, wouldn't it?
Yes.
You can view full itineraries at rssc.com/legendary journeys or contact your travel advisor.
Now, look for more on Regent Seven Seas Cruises at cruisepassenger.com.au and sign up for our weekly newsletter to keep in touch with the world of cruising. And don't forget the next edition of Cruise and Travel, our gorgeous print magazine
And it is gorgeous.
It is gorgeous, on sale now at selected newsagents. Or you can subscribe at cruisepassenger.com.au/magazine.
Thanks again, Lisa Pyle of Regent Seven Seas Cruises. We can't wait to hear more about these journeys. And of course, you have a new ship coming at the end of the year.
Yes, we do. We have the Seven Seas Grandeur making her debut in November, and we really can't wait to welcome her. So that will be in November this year.
That's so exciting. We can't wait to see that, and no doubt we'll chat with you when that happens.
You will, and it's been such a pleasure to chat with you both. I know how passionate you are about cruise.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you,
very
Lisa.
much. Thanks, Lisa.